Good morning and welcome to episode 34 of the Anno Domini podcast. I hope you are well with your family and blessed by the Lord. Today we're going to keep going and provide a sequence for our weekly series on what will the world look like if Donald Trump goes back to the White House, if he returns to the head of the executive power in the United States of America on November the 5th. A lot happening right now. We have a clear the clear candidates right now. Donald Trump on one side, Kamala Harris looks like. So far, if nothing happens, I doubt it. I believe it's still not her. They're going to come up with somebody else. So we will need to wait between 3 and 4 weeks, I believe, so that she can show something, give them a result, provide a positive result of all the investments. We heard that in the upcoming 24 hours, I believe, or 48 hours after Joe Biden dropped out and she was confirmed as the candidate. She raised $100 million. So all of that is so brutal to the narrative of the Democrats that they are for or pro democracy, right? But again, that's not my point here. Let us talk about what is the world going to be looking like if Trump returns to the White House, which is what major sources and scholars and academics and even politicians, this is what they are forecasting, that whoever it is, Kamala Harris or whoever else in the Democrat Party, this is a moment that is going to tend strongly to the right, meaning to the Republican side, with the possibility even including the Republicans winning both chambers in Congress, both the Senate and the House. So without further ado, let us just keep talking about that. We were talking yesterday about the crucial necessity we have of understanding that right now, according to Peter Zion and other authors, other philosophers, thinkers, they are saying that we are at the end phase, the final phase of globalism. And yesterday we explained what globalism means and what created globalism, which was the massive presence of the United States, not only the military, but especially the Navy, securing transportation, securing international trade, and bringing all of the negotiations and business among nations to a point of safety in order to isolate the old Soviet Union, in order to create easy flow of businesses among the nations, of trades among the nations, so that all the nations that wanted to be a part of that would align with the United States and not with the Soviet Union. So it was a brilliant plan, and it worked for 70 years. And now we see that it's not working anymore for a long list of reasons. And we are now trying to understand what's coming next. So if globalism ends, what is next? So many people in the past, many books were written 10, 15, 20 years ago. I studied some of these books when I was in college myself. It means 25 years ago, at least, that China was going to be the next superpower of the world. China would be the new empire of the world. We're going to see today that that is not the case. According to, again, Peter Zion in his book, The End of Globalization, or The End of the World is Just the Beginning, Mapping the Collapse of Globalization. That is the name of his book. And he is corroborated by different people in different areas in society, including, as I told before, as I mentioned before, politicians from Europe or politicians from other parts of the world. So let us see why China would not be let's say, the next candidate for global empire. So we're here analyzing if Trump gets to victory on November the 5th, where do we go on? And this is the book, and this is the guy that wrote the book. Seems like kind of crazy guy, but he's a very good guy. And he is very smart. And I believe that his predictions and his writings, his academic production has been, to the point. He has been right in so many things. And this is why I keep following and reading his materials, reading his articles, following his YouTube channel, and so on and so forth. So yesterday, I said that Peter Zeihan bases his book, this book, The End of the World is Just the Beginning, on two major pillars: the pillar of demographics and the pillar of geography. So these are the definitions of demographics or demography, the study of a population based on factors such as age, race, and sex. This is definition by Investopedia. And geography is the science that studies the earth and the physical and human influences that shape it. So whatever goes on the planet, whatever goes on with our landscape, rivers, mountains, plains, what was built there, the influence of humans on that landscape, very much cold, very much hot. So these are the studies. And Peter Zeihan, what he does here is he combines the demographics, meaning people that live in a geography, people and their influence in a specific area of the planet. And he is going to do that very broadly and very deeply related to China, as we're going to see in today and tomorrow. So one of the things that we know nations thrive and nations need to do in order to prosper, and this is the basics, this is the foundational ground for economics, right? You have to have producers, you have to have consumers on the other end, but you have to have traders that will distribute everything that the producers produce and make the goods and the products to get to the consumers. So this is a very intricate type of equation that shows to us and to the world that if you do not have enough producers, if you have more consumers than producers, you're going to have scarcity. If you have more producers than consumers, you are going to have abundance and nobody to sell your products to. And the traders are just the ones that make the products and the goods flow. So this needs to be a very balanced equation between the producers, what they produce, the number of consumers need to be equating to the amount of products produced or goods produced, manufactured. And of course, we need the traders, we need the distributors, we need those who will bridge the gap between the producer and the consumer. And based on that premise, on that equation alone, Peter Zeihan says in his book that between 2024, meaning the election of 2024, and again, of course, the president that is going to take over and seat at the White House resolution desk starting in January 2025 or 2025 until 2030, the end of this decade will see the end, as he says, of many things. One of the things, or some of the things that he believes we are going to be seeing the end of in 5 years between now and the end of this decade, is or are global food safety, global food safety, Russia, China economic power. He's saying that the economic power of both Russia and China are ending. Control the inflation all across the planet. This is going to end in these next 5 years. Low housing mortgage. So he's saying that mortgages are already crazy high now, but it's going to increase much more based on what we were talking about, the equation between producers, traders, and consumers. Global economic stability, and this is why he says that globalization is dying, because the global stability is dying and countries are going to be looking at themselves, meaning nationalism, much more. Technological advancements, and we're going to explain today and tomorrow why he believes that. And that means AI, right? Artificial intelligence, EVs, electric vehicles, iPhones. And he specifically quotes iPhones here. And I'm going to bring his reasoning or his reason behind the understanding that the iPhone production is going to end in this between now and the end of the decade. Massive cargo ships ending, global oil market, new automobile brands transition to a green world. And this is a good one, I believe. The transition to a green world is going to end very quickly. This is why he believes all of that is going to end, and thus, therefore, ending, terminating, eliminating what we call globalization, which is the distribution and the free flow of goods and products between and among nations. It is the end because you see here 4 nations, and I picked them randomly. The first one, the United States. These are the population age group framework, or sociologically speaking, we call them pyramids, age group pyramids. The United States on the first one, Mexico, the second one to the right, then below Germany, and then China. All of these pyramids, all of these frameworks, population age frameworks are predictions for 2025. So we are very close now, and they did not change. This is what these nations have in terms of their population age group framework. At the bottom of each one of the frameworks, each one of the pyramids, you have children. At the middle, or in the middle, you have young adults and adults. And you see that usually it is a bigger portion of the population at the middle that is healthy for a nation. And then you have the retirees or the elderly at the top. Males on the right side of the pyramid of the structure, and female at the left side. And we have here a prediction or a forecast between 1925 and 2025. And this is over 100 years what happened in each one of these countries. And see that Peter Zeihan's study is very comprehensive. He is looking backwards to 100-year, one full century of looking at the population age group frameworks and how they would be evolving and being carried out throughout the years, throughout the decades. And this is what we have right now. This is where we are right now. So the population 40 years old and below, as you see from the middle, around the middle of each one of the pyramids down or below, 40 years old and below means high consumption, very high consumption, because this is the moment that people are raising kids. This is the moment that people are building families. And because of that, this is the moment that families are building homes, are buying cars, are spending and investing with their children in schools and then college. The children are pretty much consumers. The families are pretty much consumers. And you see that in the United States, there is pretty much an equal amount of people that produce and people that are consumers. There is an equality here. But if you combine United States and Mexico, and this is what Peter Zion does, you see that in Mexico, they have a more comprehensive relation or correlation between producers and consumers than the United States. And this is why the United States so much need Mexico right now. And the trade between the two countries is or and has been improved and empowered and encouraged regardless of a Democrat or a Republican president. So the combination between United States and Mexico provide this area of the globe, North America. And of course, we have Canada here, but I did not bring Canada to the situation, to our graph today, because Canada has a different perspective. But anyways, if you combine the United States and Mexico in terms of population, there is a very balanced correlation between producers and consumers, which means that this structure can be maintained and can sustain the prosperity of both the United States and Mexico together, as long as they have this strict and straight and close business relationship, foreign trade relationship, for at least 50 to 70 more years. Now you see that Germany and China, they are pretty much the same, being in two different continents of the world. Germany is in Europe, China is in Asia, but they have the same problem. And their problem is that there is the group of people that were supposed to consume, meaning children and young families, they do not match the number of people in the middle that are producing. So Peter Zion catches this, the demography of these two countries. China specifically, he is going to analyze China because China has been having for 100 years what they called the one-child policy. So China did not want, and they prohibited families from having more than one children or more than one child. And what happened because of that, and he analyzes specifically, Peter Zion does, the Chinese population. This is what is happening in China right now. There's a 70% birth rate decrease only between 2017 and 2024. Society in China is right now with the fastest aging rate compared to all of the countries of the world today, because their population peaked in 2012. That was 12 years ago. 2012, the population of China peaked, meaning they did not have enough children to replace growing adults and aging adults, meaning the elderlies. So countries with less children, and this is basics in the economic world, countries with less children will have to cut expenses. Expenses will not be used by this over decreasing and ever decreasing population, which means that production and trade will decrease, which means that less consumers, less local consumers will be added to the equation, which means that the country will need to import more. To export more. So China started exporting all of their goods. Why? Because they do not have a population that will match the consumption patterns or standards. So a nation that exports 70% of their goods, manufactured goods, with the end of globalization, it is doomed. This is Peter Zion's catch. He says, I've been following up the ever growing or ever decreasing population in China. They do not have enough children to replace young adults and adults. And more young adults and adults are aging out. They are growing and passing the production capacity moment in their lives. They're not healthy enough. They're not strong enough to produce anymore. And they're aging out. And the ones that still are do not have anything to sell to in terms of their products. They don't have anybody to sell their products to. You see how this very complex, but at the same time, very easy equation, it's very easy to understand. This is why he believes that China is not going to be a country the way it is seen today in 5 years. In 2030, China will have collapsed because he believes strongly that the United States of America, that was the unifying point that would produce what we call globalization, is staying out or getting out, being removed from the global trade of nations, between nations. So this is very critical. And if this is the pathway that we are right now, and it is, because if we have Trump back in the White House, he's been talking about nationalism for a long time, make America great again, America first, for at least since 2016 or 2015, when he got down the escalators in New York. He has been saying, this thing is over. This thing is, we're being damaged. We are not gaining anything with this process. We're just wasting our money. We're just investing our money everywhere, and our people are not well-to-do. They're not blessed. They are not part of the equation. And he said in 2015 and 2016, when he was elected, I'm reversing that. In 2020, he is out. And now he comes back and he doubles down, he triples down. America first, make America great again. So if that happens, this is not only a campaign slogan. This is not only a campaign cliche. This is what he and his team believe. And they are going to focus much more on the United States of America and its population, and on its market, and on its industry, and on its manufacturing area. And this is going to break China right in the middle. It's going to be cracking them, because China survives and subsides today based on exports, right? And pretty much to the United States. China does not have even close of a percentage of goods exported to other countries of the world compared to how much they export to the United States. So, with that said, for example, one of the instances that Peter Zion brings to our attention, and again, we are not supposed to follow these things so closely as he does. Of course not, right? But he has been following the housing market in China right now. In China, exactly at this time, when this moment that we're talking here, they have a massive amount of homes, of houses built, buildings, as you see here, that are being called China's ghost cities. Not because they do not have, not only because of the reasons they don't have anybody to buy it, but because people with money, to buy them, but because there are no people to buy them. People do not exist. They are not there because of their policy of the one child policy they've been implemented for 100 years. They're out of people. They're out of adults. They are out of young adults. They are out of people to get married, build a family, have children, and grow. This is why Elon Musk has been saying so repeatedly, and every single time, every now and then I go into his Twitter page, and he says that, you want to be prosperous, we want to save America and make America great again, have children. He has 11 children, right? He adopted many of them. I don't know how many of them are his biological children, but he has 11. So this is what he has been talking about, and this is what Peter Zion is highlighting here. He is highlighting that China has ghost cities today because there are no people to live there. Even if they gave, even if the government gave them the houses, the buildings, there are no people to live there anymore. And this is why China cannot be the next empire of the world, because if you don't have producer, traders, and consumers, we're pretty much doomed, right? It doesn't matter how much you produce. It doesn't matter how much you trade. It doesn't matter how much products you have affordability to distribute. If you don't have consumers, you are doomed. So this is what he has been talking about. And tomorrow, I am going to bring to you what him, Peter Zion, and others have been talking about the reasons for that. He is going to be focusing specifically on, and I am going to be bringing this to your attention tomorrow, how things are the way they are because of the lack of understanding and lack of knowledge of the supreme leader of the nation today, Xi Jinping. He says that guy has been so much isolated from the real world because people are afraid of him. People are afraid of bringing to him what is going on in the world today, because he has been killing every single possible or potential opponent. So people are afraid of saying something he doesn't like, and then he just executes the person. This is going on right now as we speak. So tomorrow I'm going to be bringing this to our attention in two other areas, agricultural area and industrial area, and how China has been responding to that because of this fear, because of this difficult relationship between the thinking class in China and China's leaders, especially Xi Jinping. So I hope that this gives you an understanding. And again, this is a very complex economic equation here. Prospect. I am not an economist myself. I just understand what the economics in the world where it stands now. Specifically, the relationship between China and the United States. This is very clear to any layman like myself. But I believe that you could understand, it was clear and easy to understand today how this equation, first between the producers, traders, and consumers goes, but also the relationship between that and the age group framework in each country. If America is sustained in the way it is right now, which is 1.8% of fertility rate, actually not percent, it's 1.8 children per family, which the very close relationship with Mexico increases to 2.2. In some polls, it says 2.4 children per family. This fertility rate can sustain not only the economy of America, but the culture of America for at least 50 to 70 more years, according to experts in that arena. And this is why there is no way to break ties with Mexico. Whatever president takes the White House not only now, but ever, has to understand how Mexico plays a very important role in this equation. And if America can build up a good and healthy relationship with Mexico, seal the border, shut down the border, but at the same time, create ways for legal immigration to keep going, and especially to create pathways to export more to Mexico and to import more from Mexico, this combination or this partnership is going to provide more prosperity and sustainability, economic sustainability for these two countries compared to any other nation in the world. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about geography and the impact of geography in the arena of demographics, because now geography is going to play a brutal role. For example, if a country has snow 6 months a year, or at least half of the country, and you cannot sow any seeds, you cannot grow agricultures in that area. Or if parts of that nation is very, very hot, like northern African countries, right? There's nothing there but sand. So geography plays a very important role in how demographics operate to create or to not create prosperity and wealth. So with that, I hope that I can see you all tomorrow for the fourth day of this series. What happens if Trump goes back to the White House? And I hope you can be here with us again. God bless you. See you all tomorrow.